Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the program today, we'll go around the world with our guest, and we'll go to places like the Middle East, China, and Russia, and maybe Congress. Well, Enos has the rundown.
Ty Cobb is an expert in foreign affairs, and he was special assistant to President Reagan. Now some people are trying to recruit him to run for Congress. Sam?
And coming up on the Power Pundit panel today, Paul Mozen, Fred Hillerby, and Earlene Forsythe. It's all coming up next on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
Here at the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, water resources come from fresh, clean groundwater, approved by state permit. The water is pumped from wells to million-gallon storage tanks and then distributed to TRI companies. Another amenity is our investment in a state-of-the-art wastewater treatment plant. This disposal system converts waste to clean water for industrial applications. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevada.
When making your decision as where to play golf, consider the resort at Red Hawk. You know you have made the right choice the moment you arrive. The friendly staff welcomes you to our award-winning pro shop. You know you've made the right decision on the first tee. The Lakes course is in the best condition in years. You know you've made the right choice after you've played 18 holes. The resort at Red Hawk, the right choice.
Nevada Newsmakers is sponsored in part by the Nevada Beer Wholesalers Association.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by Employer Links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer Links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and Social Security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
So, who do you use for workers' comp?
Pro Group Management.
Ah, I've heard some good things about them.
You bet. Employee background checks, safety training, claim seminars. Oh, and here's the great part. If you have an issue, they work for you, not against you.
Sounds perfect. And expensive.
Well, that's the best part. They saved me 30%. I've heard they've saved others 50%.
Works for me. Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And we welcome back to the program an old friend of the show. Ty Cobb is here, former special assistant to President Reagan and an expert on foreign affairs. But we want to start on another note.
Ty, there's been rumors that you are being recruited to run for Congress. So I'm just going to ask you point blank, are you going to run for Congress?
Paul, I was flattered by the suggestions by some people, but we're very happy back in Reno, don't want to move to Washington, and I have no intentions to run for Congress. Thanks.
Well, you could still live in Reno as well as live in Washington, D.C. if you did run. So.
I think I'll pass on that, though, and I'll turn it over to the younger generation, Paul.
Well, speaking of the younger generation, does your son have some aspirations here?
He's been asked to consider running for the Assembly, and right now I think he's very happy in his assignment at the Pentagon on the E-ring, but it's something I think he'll be taking a look at in the next few months.
So there's a possibility.
Possibility.
Which district?
26, Sharon Angles.
Okay. All right. Very interesting.
That's where he lives, so.
All right. Well, let's change subject and go to where we wanted to start, which is on foreign affairs. A lot going on in the world today. Interesting with Israel pulling out now from the Gaza Strip, and the question, I guess, that's foremost in my mind is, does Mahmoud Abbas have enough power and strength to be able to control what's going to happen once the Israeli army leaves, which is a very stabilizing force in the Middle East?
Well, you could look at it two different ways. Does Sharon have enough power to exert his will over the Israeli parliament? Bibi Netanyahu resigned the other day, fractured the Likud coalition. And there's a lot of resentment in Israel about the pullout from the Gaza area.
But by the way, I'm asking about Netanyahu. I mean, it seems to me it's obviously a political move,
yes,
but it almost seems like a cheap shot when there's so much pressure on the government right now to pull out and resistance from within Israel itself, that this was not a smart move.
Well,
I'm not sure.
It may be politically a smart move because he's trying to line himself up to succeed Sharon as the leader of Likud. But what are you going to do? Oppose the withdrawal from that area now that the United States is pressuring you to accede to the peace settlement? I think he will be a very unpopular person in Washington with this latest move and not supporting Sharon.
And my fear is that, the Sharon is likely a target of assassination.
Well, of course. So you saw
by
that.
His own people.
By a disgruntled soldier the other day, you saw that. And we've normally associated that type of violence, as you said, Sam, at the outset, in Palestine, where there are so many different factions that they are so opposed to each other, you wonder if they'll agree themselves.
Well, and that's the same thing that happened to Rabin, right, over a decade ago. You had somebody in his own.
Yeah, just yet one more trouble spot in the world in which there are thousands that are relating to the terrorist issue.
Okay, would it be a smart consideration for, say, Egypt or Jordan to put in troops into the Gaza Strip at this point to help stabilize this transition?
Well, both Egypt and Jordan are relatively unstable societies with leadership there sort of in a precarious position. I don't think the king in Jordan or the president in Egypt is going to commit troops unless it's rock solid that by going in they're going to stabilize the situation that both sides are happy with.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead, Sam.
No, you go ahead.
Talking about stabilizing the situation, let's get to what we're seeing on the news every day. Iraq. We had elections, however, we still see more Americans dying after we win the war. Do you think it's possible for for the United States and the Iraqi government to stabilize that country?
It's entirely possible. There's been a lot of progress made in Iraq. The attention, of course, as it should be, is on the number of American deaths that are there, the insurgent activities, the terrorist activities. Over time, the Iraqi government will gain strength and be able to deploy its own forces, but the key question is, how long is that going to be? How expensive is that going to be to the United States in particular in terms of the financial commitment and, more importantly, the soldiers' lives?
Well, and that's another question, because we have this intense media scrutiny. Yeah. Do you think it's possible for the United States to win a war or win the peace when you have the kind of media scrutiny that we do today?
It's very difficult, but I wouldn't have it any other way. You need to have the media there looking at all sides of the issue. I think I would fault the American public. May
I jump in 1 second here? The media in Iraq is not looking at all sides of the issue. They're in a compound that they can't get out of. They're in the green zone. Richard Engel of NBC News freely admits that they cannot go outside of there. They will be killed. So they're not covering the news. They're not able to go out there and tell the good stories about what's happening out there. It's impossible for the media to cover the situation.
Well, I don't know that it's impossible. I think when my son was there, the situation was much the same, and you are able to travel, but there are risks involved. Also, you'd have to ask, Paul, is the American public, do they really want to hear reports of the water infrastructure or that the oil lines are back in production? Probably not. So you're going to go with what the listeners want to hear.
I would disagree with you. I think, and when your son has been here in the past and we've talked about things like that, I think it is important to know that we are actually helping and that there are good things being accomplished in terms of power and water and infrastructure. But obviously, the spotlight is always going to move on to
that's right.
The deaths.
That's not the highlight when you open up the newspaper. Right. Or you turn on the TV. It's always,
if you had some influence on NBC Evening News, maybe you can get them to change that policy.
My influence on this program is minimal. I don't know about influence on NBC News. Let's take a break. More with Ty Cobb when we come back on Nevada Newsmakers.
For a videotape copy of any Nevada Newsmakers program, call 775-857-2244. The tapes are $20 each, including shipping.
My family started this business 27 years ago.
We work hard to serve our customers and our community.
But it's getting harder and harder to keep the doors open.
For example, our workers' comp is going through the roof. Isn't anyone on my side anymore?
The Retail Association of Nevada is. If you're a small business owner, we can cut your workers' comp by up to 50%. lobby for your interests, and keep you informed. Put us to work today.
Reno's best dining values are all at one casino, the Pepper Mill. You can enjoy great savings on our popular specials. Pepper Mill's coffee shop offers daily lunch specials, low-carb dining, and all your favorite comfort foods. You'll find sensational lunch specials featuring Reno's freshest seafood, sushi, pasta, and more at Oceano. And early bird specials at Reno's Premier Steakhouse and Romanza Ristorante Italiano. The best values are at the Pepper Mill. Where are you dining?
Thanks to an ongoing commitment by America's mining companies, more than 2 million acres already have been reclaimed. To learn more about reclamation or other aspects of mining, visit nma.org. The National Mining Association.
Come join the fun on Saturday, August 20th at the 5th Annual Ricky Woodring Memorial Fund and Scholarship Golf Tournament. It's an 18-hole four-person scramble with food and fun at the beautiful Arrow Creek Golf Club. The entry fee of $130 includes green fees, golf cart, continental breakfast, lunch, and snacks with a raffle and silent auction. All proceeds to benefit the Ricky Woodring Memorial Fund and the Galena High Athletic Program. A hole-in-one wins a 2005 Ford Mustang, compliments of Jones West Ford. It's a day of golf, food, fun, and prizes. Call 851-7454 now to reserve your spot.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
Back talking with Ty Cobb, Foreign Affairs Specialist and former Special Assistant to President Reagan. One last thing on this Iraq deal that does come into play, which is that we have midterm elections coming up in 2006, and that is definitely going to play on this. The President's ratings on the war are not looking good as of today. A new poll came out that shows him with 60% disapproval ratings. That is heading towards a supermajority of no.
Well, it's definitely going to be a political issue in the midterm elections where the governing party normally loses ground anyway. But the Iraq issue, if it continues without some highly visible progress, is going to be a difficult one for Republicans nationally to counteract. That's true.
Okay, let's get away from Iraq and down to Indonesia, the Philippines, that area of the world. Indonesia, the largest Muslim country, they're having a little bit of instability there as far as, well, they've changed governments, 5 times in the last few years or so. What can you tell us about Indonesia?
The movements there are largely nationalist and secessionist. Much of it is centered into the area that was hit by the tsunami. Indonesia, as you said, is the largest Muslim country in the world. There is fertile grounds for recruiting for the global jihad, the terrorist network. Previously, though, as I said, it's been more focused on independence from the Indonesian government. As the same in the Philippines, you mentioned Abu Sayyaf there. We're largely looking to have those islands pull away from the government. What we've seen in the last year, though, is growing connections to the global jihad movement by the Muslim terrorist and extremist movements, both in the Philippines and in Indonesia. That's extremely worrisome.
Well, what's also worrisome is what was happening in England with these bombings, where
That's right.
These are not disenfranchised,
That's right.
Ignorant, impoverished people with nothing to lose. These are middle-class, intelligent people who are, English citizens who are blowing themselves up. I mean, what do you make of that?
Well, as were the 19 that were involved in the September 11th. They are middle class. They are well educated. And they seem to have responsible positions either in their own societies or if they go abroad to Britain. What has happened is that these individuals have been infected by this notion that there's a supreme reward when one moves on to heaven, that Allah will reward you for destroying the Western civilization and taking as many of the lives of the infidels as you can. And it has imbued many of the Muslim youth, of which are about 400 million young male Muslims in the world. So it's not surprising.
I'm glad to see that a lot of mainstream Muslim organizations, both in England and in the United States, are now coming out, and condemning this kind of behavior.
Well, they issued a fatwa in England, and they're doing the same thing in the United States. It might be, in my mind, weaker than I would have liked to have seen, because it left some avenues open for legitimate terrorist type activity, but at least the mainstream Muslim organizations are now taking up the cudgel. The big question is, will the sponsoring states such as Saudi Arabia close the madrasas, Pakistan, where this sort of ideology of hatred is being taught?
Well, you know, we've seen a change in leadership in Saudi Arabia, but we really haven't seen a change of leadership.
And in fact, the power has been there in the same individual for some time. I think you are going to see some changes. Saudi Arabia, which, you know, is so important to the world and not just the United States in terms of the production of oil, has got to do something about the terrorist problem at home. In the past, Saudi Arabia's policy has been to support those people as long as they didn't cause any trouble at home. They could go abroad and do it. Now it's coming back to haunt them.
Russia also has some terrorist problems. In fact, Vladimir Putin yanked ABC's Moscow credentials because they interviewed one of the Chechen terrorist leaders. What can you tell us about Russia?
Well, the problem in the Muslim populations of the former Soviet Union is not as great as it is elsewhere, but there are some hotbeds of serious problem, and right now Chechnya, in that very complex Transcaucasian area, is a center of not only resistance to Russian rule over that area, but growing connections to the global terrorist, the jihad network. And I can understand President Putin being concerned about it, but once again, Putin overreacts, as he has on a number of occasions.
You know, it's interesting to me that they've banned ABC and said that they will not renew their credentials. But fortunately for the ABC folks, Russia is apparently not one of those countries that imprisons their journalists, as Judith Miller spends her 5th week in jail here for the New York Times for a story she never wrote. And because she won't give up her sources, so I kind of find that interesting.
And thanks for the editorial there.
You know, the nice thing about the show is it's got my name on it, so I get the chance to be able to say that. You know, I think freedom of the press is a really important issue in this country, and I don't think we should be locking up journalists. And I think we need a federal shield law, and hopefully at some time in the next few months we'll see that. But in the meantime, you know, she languishes in jail, in a cell that holds 48 people, and it was built for 24 people. I mean, there's something wrong here. Let's just briefly talk about the whole Unocal deal where China wanted to buy Unocal. They backed away from that. And initially I was rather worried about that situation because it seemed to me, well, you're suddenly going to see China grabbing up everything. But then on reflecting, you know, do we really want to be in an economic battle with China over everything? Because I'm not sure we would be the winner.
Yeah, you know, this is one of the issues that I worked on when I worked for President Reagan, is the foreign ownership of sensitive industries. And clearly, if they're manufacturing high technology computers, you might be concerned. Buying an oil company with assets around the world worried me a lot less. I got to tell you, Sam, I am more concerned about excluding China from the global capitalist marketplace than I am about inviting them in. There are some concerns when a foreign country has ownership of a major industry such as an oil one, but the Canadian, French, British ownership, Russian of many of our properties. I think I'd be very chary about forcing China into a sort of a nationalist, xenophobic stance.
And that's where we've got to leave it. Ty Cobb, always a pleasure. Thanks for being here. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Thank you.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
Since its creation more than a decade ago, the Southern Nevada Water Authority has focused on 3 goals: preserving water quality, improving water conservation in Southern Nevada, and meeting the community's current and future water needs. Through thoughtful planning, responsible management, and collaboration, it's succeeding. As we move into the 21st century, the authority continues to embrace sustainable water development and efficient water use. That's our promise to Nevada.
When making your decision as where to play golf, consider the resort at Red Hawk. You know you have made the right choice the moment you arrive. The friendly staff welcomes you to our award-winning pro shop. You know you've made the right decision on the first tee. The Lakes course is in the best condition in years. You know you've made the right choice after you've played 18 holes. The resort at Red Hawk, the right choice.
I tell you, John, this industry has really changed.
Tell me about it.
You seemed to do pretty well last year. What's your secret?
No secrets. Although I'll tell you something. The smartest thing I did was sign up with Pro Group Management.
Really? Yeah, they do workers' comp, right?
Yeah, their services are great. And get this, they saved me 30%. I've heard they saved others 50%.
That works for me.
Pro Group Management. Finally, workers' comp that works for you.
As an employer, did you know you can be held liable for negligent hiring? A background screening by employer links can uncover criminal records, like alcohol and drug convictions. It can verify the applicant's education, driving records, and professional licenses. Employer links can check civil records, registered sex offender records, and social security fraud. Hiring the right person shouldn't be a gamble. Call Employer Links. Employer Links, protecting your investment.
And now, back to Nevada Newsmakers with Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, before we go to the pundit panel, we get emails, and one viewer wrote and said that twice on Monday, Dean Hillis said that he raised 95% of his campaign funds, $250,000 here in Nevada. Our viewer checked and said unless he considered California part of Nevada, he in fact raised about $60,000 outside of Nevada, primarily from California, not 5% from outside Nevada, around 25%. We'll put the link up on our website, and you can go check it for yourselves, but just wanted to get the record straight here.
I just had to comment.
May I introduce you first?
No.
We welcome to the program a newly minted Republican. Paul Mozen is here. He's a healthcare consultant. And Earlene Forsythe is chairman of the Nevada Republican Party. And Fred Hillerby, who's a lobbyist and a good friend of this program. Welcome all.
That's why I switched. It was her. Now, can I say something about Dean Hiller?
Sure.
I saw the show the other day, and, you were pretty hard on Dean.
Excuse me, why? Because I asked him to be specific?
No, that's fine. But I think in the future, when you get Sharon Angle and Dawn Gibbons on, you need to be just as hard on them.
Have you ever noticed this show not being that? We are equal opportunity here. If you come on the program...
I know, but I'm just waiting for them to come on.
Sharon Angle has been invited many times. We'll be having Dawn Gibbons on, I believe, the end of next week. So...
Okay.
And trust me, we will.
I'll be watching you.
Okay, now that you're done defending yourself from Paul.
See what happens when he becomes a Republican?
Absolutely. A quick question. Today, the Las Vegas Review-Journal did an article on Jim Rogers and running for governor. Said if he would run for governor while he's chancellor, there would be a Hatch Act, a violation of the Hatch Act. Speaker Richard Perkins has already had... They've already said he's in violation of the Hatch Act. Do you think voters care about that when we have two potential candidates for governor with Hatch Act violations? Paul?
People running for office, breaking the law? I think people care about that. Whether it will come to the fore in the media and where people will become aware of it, I don't know. But, I think they should be held to the same standard that we're all held to, and that means following the law.
How about you, Earlene?
Well, I just think you have to make people aware of it, and then they become maybe excited about it. But if they hear about it and people really don't attack them on that issue, people don't care about it.
Fred, I get the sense that the public goes, Hatch Act. Isn't that something that's on a boat?
That's what I'm going to say. I think if you're going to try to make some political hay out of that issue, it's just got to be about the fact that they're violating the federal law. You try to explain the Hatch Act with Richard Perkins as an example, the whole notion of you're involved with federal funds that somehow come somewhere in the police department in Henderson. That one's pretty difficult to pin down as it turned out to be. So I think the issue is, do these candidates abide by the law, both state and federal, or not? But if you get caught up in the Hatch Act, I think you lose any traction on the issue.
The interest just kind of glazes over. And we should, as we always do, point out that Jim Rogers is the owner of Sunbelt Broadcasting, that owns the stations upon which this broadcast airs. It was interesting. This came out about a week or so ago, that the benefits that are payable towards public safety personnel, the liability that the cities have, is going to run $2.8 billion over the next 30 years. This from a story from Lisa Kimbach at the Review-Journal. That's an astonishing amount of money. Where are we going to get that from, Fred?
That's a very good question, Sam. I don't know where we're going to get it from. You don't necessarily have to fund all of that liability. That's the one side of it. So there are ways to protect yourself from those sorts of liabilities, and I'm certainly no expert in that area, but I don't think it'll ever come up to the point where we have to find, $2.8 billion. Right. I don't think that'll ever be it. It will be looking at other ways to deal with the issue and knowing that there's always that potential out there. But we don't have that kind of tax revenue and those kinds of resources in this state to divert to that particular liability.
So these are kind of virtual liabilities, not actual liabilities.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, if everybody... Yes, they are.
Everything bad that could have happened.
Everything bad that could happen, then yes, that's what we're going to have to pay for. Earlene, do you think we're going to be in a session next time where we're going to have to look at ways to, and everybody says we have a structural deficit, look at funding that structural deficit?
Well, hopefully we're going to be looking at the Tabor law, and in Colorado that's been very successful. And I think the only thing they need to watch is like a rainy day fund. And if we can put money away, for emergencies and help the state in that way, I think that would be great. But I think spending's out of control and the revenue, taxing is out of control. So I think next session we're going to be looking at that, and, they're going to be very skeptical of raising our taxes again, because we just came through a session that...
But we're not going to need to raise taxes again, are we? I mean, when you look at the fact that gaming taxes and sales taxes are continuing to go through the roof and look to go through the roof for the foreseeable future, why would we need to I'd be more interested in looking at a way to be able to adjust the budget to compensate for the excess revenues that are going to be coming in. Doesn't that make sense?
You mean raise the budget?
No. But if we know we're going to have this excess amount of money, I mean, we just rebated $300 million. We didn't do anything in this session to stop the growth of income from sales taxes and from gaming revenues. And you're looking at billions more dollars of projects in Las Vegas for hotel casinos and condominiums, etc. I don't see any slowdown in this. So are we looking at another rebate in the next session?
Well, I think it's a lot more efficient, and it's a lot cheaper for the people of Nevada to make sure you don't collect the money in the first place that you have to rebate at a cost of, 20 million it costs just to rebate the $300 million. So, there's $20 million that could have gone to the schools or could have gone to education.
And that's what could have gone back to business and the taxpayers who actually
could have gone to Paul.
Paid that.
Wouldn't be a bad plan. We'll be right back on Nevada Newsmakers after this.
Nevada Newsmakers, brought to you in part by the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the world's largest industrial park, the resort at Red Hawk, and the Peppermill family of casinos.
High-tech companies demand perfect world amenities. They require clean, reliable power, state-of-the-art fiber optic communications, and clean water sources. In a perfect world, companies would have immediate access to rail and interstate freeways. There would be 4-lane expressways that shorten shipping times and provide convenient commute routes for valued employees. Well, the future is now, and it's here. Welcome to the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, the largest industrial park in the world, building economic prosperity for Nevadans.
Don't forget, you can watch Nevada Newsmakers now online at nevadanewsmakers.com. You can also send us your emails via that site as well.
Coming up tomorrow, Aaron Neff and Vic Williams.
It's going to be a great show. We hope you'll join us tomorrow. See you then.